guess that concludes that. You guys want to do worst trade ever? Got anything in mind? I got one.
I'm going to open it up with Joe Milton.
Joe Milton? When the Patriots fleeced you guys?
Trey Lance to the Cowboys.
Trey Lance to the Cowboys.
Trey Lance, probably the worst of all time.
Probably the Niners trading up to draft for Trey Lance.
No, the Cowboys.
No, three firsts for a guy who played 4 games.
Yeah. He was traded halfway through his second season? Third season?
Third season. He sat for a year and a half in Dallas.
Worst trade of all time, realistically, probably the Deshaun Watson trade to the Browns.
Shout out to Sean.
Of course, as a GM, there's no way. Well, I mean, at the point when they made the trade, it was already out that he was real touchy-feely with the ladies. But
where does the Russ trade fit into this equation? Is that up there for you?
Slightly below.
Okay.
Yeah.
But even with Russ, it's like if he had stuck around a little bit longer there and Sean Payton didn't just hate his guts, like they could have had something. He would have never been top 5, barely top 10 at best. But he could have been a top 10 quarterback.
You brought him into such a sucky team, too. There wasn't really anything else going on in Denver at the time. You traded for Deshaun Watson, and you've wasted one of the greatest defensive players of all time, probably top 10 defensive player of all time. I mean, really, like you could make an argument for top 5 in
Myles
Garrett, and you're wasting his career.
Mm.
I mean, he's
30 years old on a new 4-year extension.
He's making history, and you're not gonna win 10, 11 games this season. I mean, you know what I mean?
Not to open a can of worms, but like Russ's departure from Denver, where it's like, oh, he had decent stats. Like he still could have done something there, whether it's win 11 games or be serviceable or whatever it may be. This is the exact argument I have against why Aaron Rodgers is terrible at this point in his career. And like I said, I'm not trying to open a can of worms, but like,
he is terrible.
Like, use your eyes. Like, yeah, Russ had decent stats his final year in Denver. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers had decent stats last year with the Jets. But let's use our eyes. Like, clearly he's not what he used to be, which we can argue if that was ever that great or not. But point being,
he's a career winner and now he's losing.
If you want to call it that, sure.
He's broken.
Yes. I think both of them are at this stage.
That's absolutely fair, but Russ's ceiling was so much lower than Rodgers to me. And yeah, we could argue about what Rodgers ever was prior to leaving Green Bay. But Russ, Super Bowl champion, and then he made another appearance, which Rodgers only had the one appearance. That said, Rodgers historically throughout his career, like, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt. Russ isn't.
Rodgers is a bum.
Russ just isn't. He just doesn't have the accolades to go with it. He didn't have the dominance. Like, when the Cowboys play the Seahawks in that 2018 playoff game and I witnessed the first playoff win of my career, my freaking life, dude. Like, Russ didn't have me scared the way Rodgers did.
I think eye test from a decade ago, sure. But Rodgers was never the kind of guy that... Maybe hindsight's 20/20, but if I'm a guy a decade ago with prime Rodgers and I'm facing him in the playoffs, I'm not that worried because his playoff record really isn't impressive to me.
Frankly, they both lack aura, and that's what's most important in a quarterback.
Nobody's scared of Kirk Cousins in crunch time, and Kirk Cousins has more fourth quarter comebacks than Aaron Rodgers does historically, and so does I think Andy Dalton and Flacco.
Exactly.
So that says a lot.
All of these guys lack aura. Flacco might have a little.
Maybe a little. I like this guy. I gotta say, it's early, but my choice for the worst trade of all time has got to be the Luka trade. I don't think we've ever seen anything like that. I don't know if you're a big basketball guy or not, but in any sport, I've never seen such a lopsided trade out of nowhere for no reason. And like recently, I've been brainstorming that the trade was a little bit like, not forced by Adam Silver in the NBA, but like the NBA was on such a decline and didn't really have anywhere out of it that they did this to like make it interesting. And that's just an idea that I've been flirting with in my head. But point being, who in their right mind would ever trade a top 3 player in the sport for a guy who's nowhere near that, injury prone, old, was never good enough as a number one on New Orleans to take the Pelicans to a championship or even a conference championship. It just never made any sense to me, like, at all. Like, honestly, it would be like if the current Thunder traded Shea for Kyrie because, like, it's Kyrie, but, like, he's injury prone, he's old. He was never good enough as a one to take Boston anywhere, never good enough on Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Like, it just, none of it makes any sense. You didn't get any draft capital for it.
Yeah.
All-time butcher from the Mavericks front office, and I'll be saying that for a long time. I don't think we'll ever see something quite like this.
Absolutely. I mean, I gotta mention the Bryce Young trade. 2 firsts and DJ Moore for the first overall. Chicago ended up with the first the year after from Carolina because Carolina was so bad because of that trade. I mean, they were bad to begin with, but DJ Moore's first year out, 1,400-yard season with Justin Fields throwing the ball, not an elite passer, not an elite read maker, just an arm behind a terrible O-line. Strung together 1,400 yards for the guy. And he's not a top-of-the-market receiver. He's not pulling $30 million right now. I think he's an incredible player, along with 2 firsts that year and the year after. And it's like, man, Caleb Williams' ceiling is, I think, in at least you and I's opinion, I don't know about Jonah, like, much higher than Bryce Young's.
Yeah, 1,000%. I don't think it would be viewed upon, or frowned upon, I should say, as much had the Texans not drafted C.J. Stroud right after, and he'd be such a hit year one. Had Stroud been a bust as well, or maybe had the Texans not gone quarterback, and it just clearly had been the wrong move. Like, you drafted the undersized guy, who just seems like he can't hang. It wouldn't have been such a bad trade, but that was definitely a misstep for Carolina.
For sure. Set them back for a while.
The Boston Red Sox traded Babe Ruth for $100,000 so that they could finance a musical.
That's on the list, I guess.
I think that's a double trade, personally.
$100,000 for
$100,000 for the greatest player in baseball history.
Wow. Shout out Babe Ruth.